It is always quite hard to find the perfect cable for your high-end headphones. Today we are going to review one which does something completely different than you'd expect it to. The star of today's review is the master line of cables from LavriCables. LavriCables or LavriCables is a company from Europe which makes those by hand and which has a wide selection of products and can customize a cable for you regardless what headphones you have. They have connectors for basically every single headphone out there. So even if you have a Focal headphone, Sennheiser, Audes, or today's stars Headphone, they will have something perfect for you. LavriCables is a company that I already reviewed once a cable from and I liked it. The new cable that we have today is very different from what I would expect. The reason why it is so different is that this one is made of silver. So typically audiophiles tend to associate silver with a brighter tuning, with a sound that has less bass and more treble, and with a sound that is more brittle, more resolute, but at the cost of the bass. This cable sounds exactly the other way around. It actually has a deeper, more lush bass, a more pleasing mid-range tonality, and although it adds a bit of sparkle in the treble, it does so in such a controlled way that you fall for it instantly. The cable actually looks quite good and you can configure the length that you require. I went for a very long length. I know it looks a bit comedic, but this one comes with an XLR connector, or at least the one I ordered. The reason it is designed as such is that I wanted this for either Aune S17 Pro or for Headphone EF600. Both of them are large devices that are not likely to be sitting on a desktop, so I wanted something a bit longer so that I could have the device somewhere else. For example, right now I have the EF600 placed beneath my desk on the left hand of it. So this Master Silver comes with AECO special XLR connectors, and for this length you are going to need a high quality cable. So the reason I'm saying this is because the longer a cable is, the more likely it is that it will introduce distortions and other problems. This one looks quite thin in practice, but it is very flexible and yet it feels trusty. It never feels cheap, it feels high-end. And I have the sky blue version, which I like quite a lot. I like seeing this really beautiful color. They have other color options as well. For the master line, the other color being transparent or sky blue, so a very slightly blue tonality, or you see the silver inside. Here we have the DD Hi-Fi BC150B, which is less pricey than this one, but both of them I have in very long lengths, pretty much the same length actually. Wow, I was not expecting this, but I have both of them ordered at about 3 meters. The difference is quite minimal. Both of them are very well made, but DD Hi-Fi feels much more solid, it feels more trusty. The cable itself is more rigid, less flexible, while the master line of cables from LavriCables feels much more flexible and more premium. This one feels more high-end. Neither of them doesn't conduct microphonics, but I think that I am hearing any kind of microphonic there are less with the Master Silver than there are with the DD Hi-Fi cable, and this is because the DD Hi-Fi has a much more solid and rigid construction, which tends to conduct microphonics more. Here we have the stars of the sound, the Headphone HA1000 Special Edition, and I've also been pairing this one with Headphone Audiophile, both of them being very good headphones for testing a cable like this. Master Silver has shown me the biggest improvements that I've ever heard with HA1000 Special Edition. Adding the Master Silver, this feels like a huge full upgrade to the headphones themselves. It is better than EQing them. And the reason for that is that most EQs tend to add a bit of distortion, they tend to make the sound a bit worse in some ways, while this cable doesn't have any kind of disadvantage. And that is something I like when playing with cables. Usually when using any kind of DSP or digital sound processing, you tend to get into the problem that they introduce something unwanted. For example, whenever you increase the bass, you tend to run into the risk of getting out of phase with the sound, and that happens even if you equalize the other bands for having more bass and reducing the preamplifier. When increasing the treble, you always tend to get into aliasing problems where the sound becomes too sharp or unnaturally clean, Well, with this cable, what I heard was a huge improvement. First off, this is made of silver, so as I was saying, you would expect it to make the sound much brighter. It doesn't do that, it actually enhances the bass. It gets the Heshe 1000 Special Edition to sound bolder, to sound bassier, and to sound more controlled in the bass. The bass seems to have a lower amount of distortion. It seems to be much cleaner and also much deeper. We have much more substance in music, more control to that bass, and the mid-range just becomes more open, more colorful, more controlled, and more vivid. Everything just becomes cleaner and it has a much better resolution. It is incredible to be saying that about a cable because I started this hobby without believing that cables would make a difference. In fact, I was one of those people that used to comment on videos and on forums that cables cannot make a difference. The only thing that changed is that I heard cables, I started listening, I started doing proper volume matching, and they do make a difference. And that is how I'm making videos about cables nowadays. They just do, they just improve the sound, and when you are spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 US dollars on a pair of headphones, you want to get them a cable that would allow them to sound their best. The thing is that they can make this one for Audeze LCD 5.2, so you can have those sound even more dynamic and more punchy. But with Heshe 1000 Special Edition, I'm also getting a more juicy guitar representation, and this is the only way that I can think of to properly define what I'm hearing. Just the guitar sounds tend to be better isolated from the rest of the music. They tend to become cleaner, clearer, and also more juicy. The textures sound more natural and more like you would hear a guitar in real life and less like it was a digital interpretation, a recording of a guitar. We have a better, more natural voicing, although the voices aren't affected heavily by the master silver cable. It tends to have a very similar voicing to most cables. Most cables don't affect the voicing. They tend to affect the bass and the treble, and especially the upper mid-range tends to get enhanced when the cable is good, or the upper mid-range becomes more dull, more boring if the cable is of a lower quality. And that is what I'm typically hearing with most cable upgrades. Usually the upper mid-range becomes more pinchy, more sparkly, more airy. The treble becomes more airy and the sound gets more holographic as a result, while the bass tends to become warmer, deeper, or punchier. And everything that I just said is true about the Master Silver. This one just improves everything. I actually do not know why it changes the sound. I have been doing a lot of reading about this. What I can tell you about this cable is that it is using a 4-core 5N Purity Silver AVG22 multi-strand leads wire, and that the price for the variation that I have is 474 US dollars or euros. This kind of pricing is pretty fair for a cable, and thinking about a headphone, they deserve to be listened at their best, and you deserve to get yourself a good cable for them. I don't think that there is a perfect purchase, but if there was one, I think that this cable would be the perfect cable for all headphones. I wouldn't purchase this for a 500 US dollars headphone, and the company LavriCables has other more affordable options too. They each have their sound, and if you are looking to upgrade the cable for a headphone, I would really suggest that you read about them, try to experiment with them, try to borrow one from a friend who has one so that you can test it. I don't think that going by the price alone is a good idea, because sometimes the most pricey product tends to have a different sound than what you're looking for and what you're expecting to hear. With this cable, you should be able to hear your music at its best resolution, best clarity, and best quality possible. You will also learn more about it in my full written review if you want to check that out on Audiophile Heaven. I thank you so much for watching. I hope that I am helping you out. Please do subscribe to Audiophile Heaven if you are enjoying my videos, and I hope we'll see each other really soon. Bye!